Hey guys, and welcome to week 5 of the Invictus bodyweight program. This week I want to talk about getting back to basics, even though our workouts this week are anything but basic. What I mean by that is the nutritional approach of everything. So whether or not you're a nutrition client of mine, I hope that there's some way that you're taking on nutrition alongside of this new endeavor that you've been doing week over week with me in Invictus. See, the idea that we can out-train a bad diet is a beautiful one that's compelled by things like if it fits your macros, and so many of the posts that fitness advocates will put up that make it seem like the only things they're eating are bagels or Nutella bowls or what have you. But in truth, there is so much thought that needs to go into the things that we eat and the way we eat things in order to yield the best results possible. For that, this week, what I'd really like to talk about is the different tiers for nutritional approaches. So, of course, we have calorie counting, macro counting, micro counting, and supplementation. Those are basically the basics. But after that, you have your intermittent fasting, you have nutrient timing, you have macro pairing for optimization if it comes to storing body fat or not, and all different ways that you can really hack your routine and optimize your routine. Now, if you're not taking on the basics, there are some simple things that you can do to improve upon that. Even if you are one of my nutritional clients, think back to the beginning when we used to lay our foundations and what that meant. So the main way that we look at dieting or any nutritional approach, first and foremost, tends to be through calories. I'm definitely not unique in my experience in initial dieting. Certainly when I began, it was all about calorie counting. The idea that a pound of body fat is representative with 3,500 calories is the utmost common approach for weight loss, because how simple? We just have to create a math equation for a deficit in order to lose body fat. And if it was that simple, everyone would look fantastic and this would be much easier than it actually is. So if you haven't learned that yet, then please familiarize yourself with it now. While calories are necessary pieces of information and ways to recognize the fuel that your body likely needs and the deficit that you likely need to create to lose weight, or the surplus you need to create to gain weight, whatever that type of weight may be, it is not the end all be all for what happens next. Then you have macros, which are the types of fuel that you put in, sort of like would you put in regular or premium in your car to make it run the most efficiently? What type of fuel are you using and what type of fuel do you need? Macronutrient ratios are mostly led by lifestyle and environment, which we consider epigenetics, or the idea that your genetic predisposition for what you should be eating is modified by your current environment and should continue to be as you adapt and change things. The average macronutrient split, you'll always hear me say, is 35% of your total intake should come from protein, 35% of your total intake should come from carbohydrates, and 30% of your total intake should come from fat. This is only if you're learning your initial program, because that gives you a balanced pie chart with 3 sectors that you can get a flat line for. All right, well, if I have a little bit of this, how do I feel, and so on and so forth. Then as you work through trial and error, you start to learn what percentages work for you. The standard American diet, the SAD diet is the acronym, I didn't even come up with that, they did it for themselves, is 50% carbohydrates with some changing variables, 20% protein, and math is horrible for me, so whatever is fat in between. And so you start to see where we may have been eating and how you can transition that. I love that approach. For me right now, I've just recently changed my training style to be more circuit-based and more intensive, high-intensity cardio. And I find that my carbohydrate ranges are currently about 40% and my fat ranges are about 30%, and my protein is 30% as well, which is very different from when I started. So you'll really start to feel out what works best for you. And then we have our third tier, which is micronutrition, my personal favorite, and that is what adds the purpose to the things that we eat? How do we manifest the best version of ourselves? And really where all of my belief system comes from in nutrition. As you probably know from working with me, in 2017, I was given a terminal prognosis for ovarian cancer. I had, during that year, developed Hodgkin's lymphoma as well, which is an immune disorder, and the two disorders in combination made it impossible for a treatment to become effective. Although I've had ovarian cancer since I was 17 years old, reoccurringly. And so I found that the only thing that made a recognizable or significant change in my routine was my nutrition. If I hadn't made the changes I had then, I have a very strong belief that I wouldn't be here with you today. That and some really wonderful help from the team over at Dana-Farber in Boston. Colleen felt me there in particular. Well, moving on from that, the micronutrition portion of the things that you eat comes to terms with both the trace minerals within your food, and those are different types of minerals that you need in order to maintain homeostasis. This means also the vitamins, whether it's A, B, C, D, all the way down to, what have you, or your more significant vitamins like potassium, iron, and otherwise that we look at and notice significant changes in our day-to-day. There are apps that you can track this with. I like MyFitnessPal because I think it's really user-friendly, and there are 3.8 billion users, so you better believe there are plenty of people to fill in the gaps of nutritional information that are on there. And you can start learning some really simple micronutritional approaches, particularly potassium, calcium, iron, vitamin A, vitamin C. Those are great ways to start. If you want to take a deeper dive and learn more, you can use the free app Chronometer. That's Chronometer, and that will give you the breakdown of all different varying types of micronutrition, from your entirety of B complexes to different types of fats, omega-6 and omega-3 complexes, folate, and the purposes of all of those things and application. So changing the way that you look at food to not just what is the quantity of my food and the representative calories to instead what is the quality of my food, I find makes a really impressive change. And if this week you can start logging your food and see what it works out to be, how will that change you? What are you deficient in? And does that make sense when you look at how you feel in the day-to-day? You start to really have power over your routine outside of your fitness. There's so much here that we hope to control by hypertrophy, by building certain parts of our body that we really hope to look aesthetically more appealing and to function better, right? But at the end of the day, if your nutrition isn't there, you'll very rarely be able to see all of the hard work that you're putting in, because you'll have subcutaneous fat, which is that top coat of fat that's nagging and just sticks on top of the muscles that we've been working so hard to build and develop. Or, maybe you'll have some difficulty losing visceral fat, which is the fat that encapsulates our organs and is mostly abdominal based, because your hormones are off from the things that you're eating. Or maybe it's not even fat. Maybe you're just recurrently bloating because you're inadequately hydrated, or your potassium and sodium are off. There are so many things that can really improve upon your physique and your quality of life that you have complete control over, and that build into your routine and make food fun and empowering instead of sad and, encapsulating. So if there's anything I can help you with, as you know, I am a nutritionist. It's a big passion of mine. Training happens to be my first passion, but please ask me questions. You have my ear, and particularly this week, any nutritional consult questions that you may have, just reach out. Even if you're not a client, I am more than happy to answer them. You will be seeing some DJ shoutouts this week as well. I know last week was started with me, so I'm really excited to highlight someone new and introduce a new playlist. And beyond that, I'm super excited to introduce eMoms this week, which is every minute on the minute, and I'll get into that a little bit later. We're also going to be seeing some highlights from Tia Claire Toomey, who is the fittest woman on earth. Her program, which is an 8-week program that I gave a little shout out and snippet to. So you've got some hard stuff ahead of you, and being conscious of your nutrition and making sure that you are fueled appropriately going into it, you're gonna crush it. So again, any questions for me, let me know. Otherwise, good luck guys. Have a ton of fun, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.